Visit us on Shopee, Lazada, and TikTok. DIY Body. Negosyo budget friendly. Abot kamay mo na. Nagmamano pa pesos, may 15 to 16 liters ka ng DIY dishwashing liquid na pwede mong ibenta. Visit us on Shopee, Lazada, and TikTok. DIY Body. Negosyo budget friendly. Abot kamay mo na. Nagmamano pa
200,000 pesos ay ang premyong na panalunan ng PBB Celebrity Collab Edition team sa kanilang paglaro sa Family Feud Philippines.
Family Feud, 5:40 p.m.
Our one-of-a-kind JKM Burger Pizza, the perfect fusion of flavors that
Nagmamano pa.
That's okay.
Tell me about my day.
Hi, Reggie. It's 6:40 a.m. In Balingasan, it's 26 and partly cloudy. Today, it'll be partly cloudy with a high of 33 and a low of 26. Here's a joke to start your morning. Okay, here you go. Who isn't allowed in the zoo's quiz team? The cheetah. No tasks for today. Have a nice day. Here's the latest news. DW News at 2 a.m. today.
This is DW News, and these are our top stories. Syria's interim president Ahmed al-Sharaa has called for peace and national unity after days of clashes between security forces and loyalists of deposed former President Bashar al-Assad. He announced the formation of a 7-member independent committee to investigate the bloodshed. More than 1,000 people have been killed in the worst violence since the overthrow of Assad. Israel's energy minister says he has instructed the electricity supply to Gaza to be cut amid a standoff in negotiations with Hamas. Eli Cohen said his actions will help ensure the return of the remaining hostages and the destruction of Hamas. It comes a week after Israel blocked all aid into the territory. Volodymyr Zelensky says Ukraine is fully committed to holding constructive talks with the United States next week, but he also called for sanctions on Russia to be increased following aerial attacks that killed more than 20 people. Critics say Donald Trump's decision to suspend military aid to Kyiv, including intelligence sharing, has emboldened Russia. This is DW News from Berlin. There's more news on our website, dw.com.
From Reuters' 5-minute news briefing, Global, at 6:36 a.m. today.
This is Reuters.
Russia's defense ministry released this video on Sunday of what it said were drone strikes on a Ukrainian military column in Russia's Kursk region. Reuters was able to partially confirm the location of the video as Suja, but could not independently verify the date it was recorded. Russia has been pressing to regain control of the Kursk region with some success in recent days. Open-source maps on Friday showed Kyiv's contingent in Kursk nearly surrounded after rapid Russian advances. Former Russian President Dmitry Medvedev said on Sunday the offensive was continuing and that the encirclement was almost complete. The Ukrainian military's general staff in a late afternoon report said its forces repelled 15 Russian attacks in the Kursk region and also reported 12 Russian airstrikes on their positions. Ukrainian troops stormed into Russia's Kursk region last summer, taking chunks of territory in an unexpected lightning attack more than 2 years after Russian President Vladimir Putin ordered tens of thousands of troops into Ukraine. Kyiv said the attack was an attempt to gain a bargaining chip in future negotiations and to force Russia to shift forces from eastern Ukraine. Russian advances and U.S. President Donald Trump's upending of U.S. policy on Ukraine and Russia have raised fears among European leaders that Ukraine will lose the war and that Trump is turning his back on Europe. The U.S. paused military aid and the sharing of intelligence with Ukraine this month after a meeting between Trump and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky on February 28th descended into acrimony.
You don't have the cards right now.
An armed man was shot outside the White House by the U.S. Secret Service early on Sunday after a confrontation. That's according to a statement released by the agency. President Donald Trump was at his Florida residence at the time. According to the statement, Secret Service officials received a tip on Saturday from local authorities that a suicidal person may be traveling to Washington from Indiana, and the person's car was found a block from the White House. Shortly after midnight local time, the man brandished a firearm as officers approached him, and the Secret Service opened fire. The individual is now in an area hospital, and no Secret Service personnel were injured, the statement said. Over the years, there have been a series of incidents involving armed men shot by security officers on or near the White House grounds, including the shooting of a man who brandished a handgun at a security gate in 2016.
Crowds of Syrians protested in the capital Damascus on Sunday, demanding an end to an outbreak of deadly violence that has killed many civilians. It came as clashes continued for a fourth day in the coastal heartland of deposed President Bashar al-Assad between Assad loyalists and forces backing the country's new leaders. Syria's interim president Ahmed Shara scrambled to contain the violence on Sunday as he called for peace outside a mosque in Damascus. He urged Syrians not to let sectarian tensions further destabilize the country, which has seen relative calm after Assad was toppled in December. Meanwhile, people were mourning on Sunday at a funeral for a student who was killed in the coastal Latakia province, one of the main areas of fighting. War Monitor Syrian Observatory for Human Rights said more than 1,000 people, mostly civilians, have been killed. It said women and children of Assad's Alawite religious minority were among the dead, and that the death toll was one of the highest since a chemical weapons attack on a Damascus suburb by Assad's forces in 2013. Authorities said violence began after Assad loyalists launched deadly and well-planned attacks on their forces on Thursday. It sent security forces to crack down on the growing insurgency. Thousands of armed supporters of the new leaders showed up from across the country to back the Syrian troops before the battles spiraled into revenge killings. Syrian authorities have blamed unruly militias for summary executions and deadly raids in Alawite villages and towns. In graphic footage obtained from social media over the past days, bodies were seen strewn on the ground in Latakia. Reuters was able to verify the locations of the videos, but not the date or the identity of the dead. Shara on Friday told Syria that Assad loyalists and those who had committed crimes would be pursued and brought to trial, adding that those who harm unarmed civilians would be held severely accountable. On Sunday, Shara's office said it was forming an independent committee to investigate the clashes and killings by both sides.
This is not a matter of simply violating university rules. This is a movement, an anti-war movement.
Agents from President Donald Trump's administration have arrested Palestinian graduate student Mahmoud Khalil, who played a prominent role in last year's pro-Palestinian protests at New York's Columbia University. That's according to a statement released by the Student Workers Labor Union, which added that Khalil was arrested by U.S. Department of Homeland Security agents at his university residence on Saturday. Khalil has been one of the lead negotiators with school administrators on behalf of the pro-Palestinian student protesters. His detention appears to be one of the first efforts by Trump to fulfill his promise to seek the